Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is fine on this chilly June night in the southern hemisphere. I know in the northern hemisphere it's warmer, it's summer, but for us down here, how are you, ladies? Shola, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, Toa, I'm good. Thank you.
Tanya,
Happy
how are you
to
doing?
join.
I'm cold. It's so cold in Johannesburg today, but I'm good. I've got everything on here, guys. I better not pass out from all this heat.
And our wonderful guest, Glory, how are you doing tonight?
I'm well. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Guests, as you kindly come in and you're joining us tonight on the Let's Connect web series, please by all means, it's an interactive session. Please put in the chat where you are actually dialing from, and we'll be starting shortly. Cool. Exactly 6 p.m. and we can start our webinar. Okay, everybody, my name is Toela Mukosa. I shall be your moderator tonight on the Let's Connect webinar series. Before we begin, just a bit of some pleasantries on how the webinar series will pan out tonight. It's a webinar, which means that our attendees and our guests, you can't really speak, but would like it to be interactive. And if you could kindly, if you'd like to interact with us, please by all means put your questions in the Q&A section. And you can also place your comments in our chat. And our lovely connectors are willing to engage with you. The other thing that we wanted to let you know is the whole purpose of why we started Let's Connect. So Let's Connect will be happening every first Wednesday of every month. It happens once a month. If you're staying in the southern region of Africa, it starts at 6 p.m. And if you're in the northern region of Africa, it starts at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's 1 hour. And the whole purpose was we wanted to create a digital platform where we can help professionals across the globe navigate the corporate landscape successfully. Every month, we invite fabulous guests and we engage in a panel type discussion where we share our own personal experiences of how we've navigated the corporate landscape as well as entrepreneurship. And we just also learn from each other, and we also learn from our guests. So it's a digital platform where we get to share, where people come and get to learn and hopefully learn how to navigate the corporate landscape. The other thing I wanted to say is please like us on our social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn. We've got a LinkedIn group page, which we'll be sharing throughout the day. We've also got an Instagram page and a Facebook page. Please like us, follow us, share if you enjoy the series. By all means, please refer your friends. The more people come, the more they get to learn and empower themselves. So that's the whole reason why this whole session began. And
So,
yes.
Remember to mention we are live on YouTube, so we're streaming right now. And if you missed any episodes, do check us out. We will put our link onto the chat room.
Okay, so thank you. So without any ado, let's get to meet our guests tonight, our guest and our connectors who will be chatting with us.
Yeah.
So let's get straight into it. Our first connector tonight is Shola.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for joining yet again for the repeating guest and for the new guest. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoy it. My name is Shola Bomi Oriagba. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. I work in the power and gas space. I work with a company called Viathan. We are an utility and gas company, doing our best every day to improve the power issues in Nigeria one day at a time. I'm passionate about infrastructural development and policy making. Hopefully one day be able to support my country in policy making for the improvement of the country. I am an aviation enthusiast turned utilities exec, and so looking forward to interacting today. So thank you.
Shola. Our next connector is Kanyi. Kanyi, please introduce yourself.
Evening, everyone. Meet Coach Kanye. I am currently working as a project director with Duke Corporate Education, and I am very excited about working on bespoke programs which will be phenomenal around growing kids, around growing individuals, something I'm personally very passionate about. I started Ladybug Consulting Projects in 2015. My goodness, it feels like it's been quite a whirlwind and such a journey. I've learned so much, and there we were bringing construction projects to life. I'm also a seasoned leadership and career coach, and there it's about making sure people are the very best version of themselves and how we best work together to ensure that you are very much living. I have a wealth of experience in management consulting. I've actually been management consulting for the longest time, I think the longest part of my career. So I spent some time at McKinsey and Company, as well as a Resolve Group, which was bought over by Ernst & Young. I also spent some time at Discovery Holdings, and those of you who know, they are the big global organization around enhancing and protecting people's lives, and very much doing exciting work there around people, systems, and processes. I do have some qualifications. I studied quite a bit. So I did an MBA. I also did a postgrad at the Wits Business School. And believe it or not, I actually studied genetics. So there you are. We'll talk about that another. Good to meet everyone.
Thank you, Kanyi. I'll introduce myself. My name is Tuela Mkosa. I'm an entrepreneur and the CEO and co-founder of a digital analytics company based here in South Africa, Johannesburg. I'm very passionate about social outreach. I've been working in the information technology space for the last few years. And
the sound is on and off.
My sound is on and off.
It's better now.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Better.
All right. Okay. I was saying that I've worked in the information technology space for the last few years. My expertise is business intelligence and data analytics. Our company has just launched a digital platform, which we're very excited about, and it helps companies in logistics industry optimize their logistics. I'm very passionate, like I said, about people development, but focusing more specifically on getting more women into tech. Finally, last but not least, I'd like to introduce our guest panelist today, Miss Glory. Over to you, Dr. Glory.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I think, yes, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dr. Gloria Dozian, and I am a LinkedIn visibility coach. What I do is I help mid to senior level professionals and executives build visibility and leadership on LinkedIn and beyond. Um, Before my my entry to entrepreneurship, my background is actually in real estate and environmental planning and climate change policy. So I worked in that industry for about 6 full years, um, helping to environmental impact assessments for telecom sector, and then moving into writing climate change policy at the national level. So that's me.
Awesome. So now that you've met our guests and our connectors, let's get right into it. So today's topic is visibility critical in building your brand? So I just want to say the nice thing about the topic is it kind of flows in from what we've been talking about over the past few sessions, which has been about networking, which has been about our last series was on imposter syndrome. So now it almost feels nice that we're connecting and talking about personal branding and how can we build our own personal brands and how important is visibility in that process. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just go around and I'll probably start with our guest and Glory. So Glory, maybe the first question that I have for you is, what is your definition of personal branding?
Okay, so I think there are many definitions. First of all, thank you guys for inviting me. Super excited to be here and to be speaking to a truly Africa-wide audience. Super exciting and well done, ladies. You guys are doing an amazing job connecting different people from across Africa. Such an important thing to do. So in terms of what personal branding is, I think personal branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Really, it is, it's kind of like what people think about you. A lot of times a lot of times we have in our heads what we need for people to what we want people to think about us, or what we would prefer people think about us, what we think people think about us. But sometimes it's not the case. So, and people would tell you what you might like to hear, see your face. But I think the best gauge of what a personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room and what you are known for. So when they call your name, in what terms is your name called? In what situations is your name called? So if people are having a meeting and they're trying to think about, okay, who are we going to deploy to fix this solution? Does your name come up there? And if your name comes up, whatever is said about you is really your brand.
Wow, I like that. What people say about you when you're not in the room. Shola, what can you add on to that about personal branding? What is your definition of personal branding?
Yeah. So to Glory's point, Glory's point definitely speaks to what you're trying to achieve with personal branding, and it's spot on. That's it. What's your legacy on the long term? In the immediate term is what do people know you for? To add to that is the intentionality of it. So it's that intentional or being self-aware enough to know that you need to brand, that people need to know you for something. People need to remember you for a particular reason. So that self-awareness and the intentionality that comes with that to guide you to curate your life, for lack of a better word, to curate the way that you're perceived or the way that people see you. So I'll leave it at that. Being intentional and self-aware enough to be clear on how you want people to see you, or how you want people to remember you, or how people to speak about you.
Great. Kanye, what's your personal definition on personal branding, but maybe talking more about the intentionality of it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the simplest way to think about it is the most famous brand that you have an affiliation towards. What is that, and why do you have an affiliation or an association, or you get excited about it? I don't drink Coke, but I know the Coke brand. I will recognize it anywhere in the world, regardless of the context. So for me, if we can think about it in that regard, is what are you known for? How do people associate or feel when they see you, when they see your name, when they hear your name, etc.? So those are the things you need to be deliberate about. You know, is it about the way I look? Is it about the way I sound? Is it about the things I talk about? Is it about the stuff I write about? Is it about the networks I'm building? All of those things, as Toa has put it, you know, from our previous conversations leading up to this one, is about intentionality on your brand. And I'm excited about what Glory's going to share on visibility. Like, how do you take it to the next level? What is it about this thing that you're creating? And that's your brand. And where do you take it forward? So for me, personal branding is, if I had to be a brand, what would be my tagline? What would I be known for? Why would people come to me and no one else? Or, you know, that sort of thing.
Just to add on to that, and then I'll take it to Glory, is the whole thing of, if you're creating an awareness about yourself, if you're being intentional about building a brand that people know you for. You mentioned look. How do I look? How do I sound? So then now, Glory, you are a LinkedIn visibility coach. And you're using a platform, a digital platform, and teaching people how to be visible. So can you please elaborate the importance of visibility when it comes to personal branding?
So I think that's such an excellent question. And if we just look at what Keani said around visibility and branding, especially around Coca-Cola, right? You know, people cannot recommend something that is not seen, right? Everywhere you go, you see certain, you know, companies spend millions, billions of dollars on advertising to be seen in premium locations. You know, you can brand yourself all you want in your bedroom, but if nobody knows you exist, it's an exercise in futility, you know? So visibility is super important. In fact, you know, research has been done. I remember I was reading this research in Harvard Business Review, and these researchers went to Silicon Valley, and they had interviewed, you know, executives in Silicon Valley, and they asked them what was responsible for their rise, their career rise, and visibility emerged as one of the most important factors for career advancement. And when they started to dig in to see, and this was beyond leadership abilities, technical skills, and the like, right? And when they started to look at what visibility entailed, it had three key things. And one was perception of skill. And notice here, it's not skill, but the perception of it. So if you are, you know, that's how you say, what's this? Sorry, is such a Nigerian thing to say. Forgive me, but you know, just like, what does this person know? Why is this person always getting? Because people perceive that they are skillful. And this perception is so important for women. You know, when you make things, when you look like, I remember I had this assistant who worked with me, and she just made it look like to do her job was so stressful for her. And my perception of her skill was that it was limited, right? Because she, you know, you would ask her something and she'd be so flustered, you know, and she would know it, but she was just so flustered. So perception of skill is so important. The next thing in that was access to stretch assignments. Because stretch assignments increases your visibility, because then you're now with people who are outside of your day-to-day department, outside of your cubicle, right? You're working with people across departments, senior leaders and the like, right? And you're bringing many times a diverse range of skills that may not be required in your day-to-day function. And then finally was being known by influential leaders, right? And stakeholders in informal networks. So again, this is super important. I know we have a diverse audience here of male and female, but my heart is always with women. So I always like to emphasize this point for women. So this idea of when people, you know, you're not joining networks at work, you know, you eat lunch alone, you work alone, you do everything alone, you don't talk to anybody. you are not building visibility. Nobody knows what you're doing, you know. So yeah, those are some of the things, the importance of visibility and personal branding. You cannot brand what is not seen.
Absolutely. So, Shola, I just want to ask to say, what tips can you give people, or what has worked for you when it comes to being deliberate about being visible? So, Glory mentioned, not sitting alone during lunchtime, being deliberate about getting to know some influential leaders and stakeholders. What have you done and what has been successful for you? Or what have you seen other people doing that has made them visible?
For me, it'll go back to one of our sessions, and it's the networking conversation. So networking, I think that we had a great conversation on that day, but it totally ties to this conversation around visibility. No one knows from our last session, that your technical skills will not take you far. So that's networking. It's where you are able to have people remember you. So that thing about you, that authenticity. So we speak about, for me, when you want to be visible or you want to create a brand, being authentic, being your authentic self is what comes first, so that you are able to be consistent. So what do I think has worked? Being able to network effectively, keeping that group of mentors, sponsors, those people that speak for you, making sure that they are on side, you're on the right side of information asymmetry, as we say, and also just being consistent. So where we've spoken around things where it's that you're networking and being able to connect with people, also being technically sound. So knowing what you're talking about, knowing what your knowledge of subject matter or whatever field you're in. So owning that space, it helps you with your visibility. So where there's a project and they're looking for that person that they'll call because you've been consistent, because you've been visible, and because you've delivered on previous projects, or you've raised your hands on previous projects, that's visibility. You've stepped forward to support or to deliver on things. That is the start of visibility. So there are many layers to it. In the workplace, it's the person who steps forward where there is a complex task and they need someone to do it. You stepping forward, that is visibility. You being the person who is friendly in the tea room, that is visibility. You also being the person where the after work drinks does not turn it down every day and you're able to join, that helps build visibility. So all of those things, and just being intentional about the group and where you want to be spoken about and what you want to be spoken of, or what you want them to say about you when you're not there. But yes, it's a combination of a couple of the things that we've spoken about. I love the way everything converges at this point. I feel like it brings home everything that we've kind of spoken about in the past. So yes, networking and consistency, that has worked.
Coach Kanye, when it comes to visibility, I'm going to take you a bit back to what you said earlier around the look and around the sound, how you dress, how you portray yourself, because that's also all about building a personal brand. I remember one of my managers said, the world is your stage and you're an actor. And when you step out of your house, your car, you are putting on a show. So the way you talk, the way you're seen, you need to leave a lasting impression. Can you maybe share some insights? Because I know you and I had a discussion about this. There was a project we were doing, and just some insights on, personal branding, but when it comes to voice, when it comes to how you look and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do think, and I agree with you and agree with your mentor who said the world is your stage. The reality is people work with people they like, or people they respect, or people they trust. And some of that is borrowed until you've proven yourself, right? And how do you borrow it? For me personally, is around how you show up. So trust me, if I've got an important meeting with a stakeholder, I will put on my best face, I will put on my best suit, because it makes me feel confident. And when I'm confident, I show up differently. So I'm very deliberate about that. And Toa, you're very naughty to bring this up, but we had a client, Toa and I worked together. I won't mention the organization, on a project. And we needed something done, and we needed it done quite quickly. And we knew that it would take forever if we followed a particular approach, which is the normal approach, right, through the channels. So I said, Toa, we need to look our best. You guys can decide what look our best looks like. But we made an effort to make sure we are the kind of person you can't ignore. And by that, I mean, we looked the part, we smelled the part, we showed up, and we asked very nicely. And guess what? We got the desired result. So what I'm saying is, you must think about your artillery, your armor, as beyond just your knowledge and what you're able to bring. I think you should be thinking about visibility, you should be thinking about branding holistically. In a similar fashion that when you look at a company brand, you know what it's about, you know what it looks like, what it tastes like, what it smells like, what it represents, and all those things. But visually, it's also appealing, right? Like there's some brands you look at and you go, what are they selling again? So you must be clear. So for me, you need to be intentional about how you show up. And I remember going on a course, one of my consulting days, where we actually spoke in quite a lot of detail about how you dress, and therefore what message you're sending to the room, how you look, and you can see where this is going, right? And I'm curious from a female perspective, what else you need to do. But and maybe some of the gentlemen in the webinar can tell us what they need to do. But I mean, like, you know, everything must be in its place, and yeah, it must be well projected.
Can I add to that, Tuela? I have
please go for it, Glory.
You know, this thing about packaging and look, and I know that's not what Kayani is referring to in terms of packaging and pretending to be something you're not and all of that. But I remember there's a story that kind of turns this conversation a bit on its head. So I once went for an International Women's Day conference, and there was a speaker, and I the green room with with the speakers. And I remember so everybody was dressed to the nines, right? Everybody had their designer bag, makeup, eyelashes, everything, you know? And then there was this other woman who was speaking, and she came in with big, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, big scruffy looking braids. She had a t-shirt on and a skirt and not really nice looking shoes. And on the t-shirt was written like slurs, female slurs, right? So she was trying to make, because of International Women's Day, she's trying to make a statement. And I remember thinking, did this one not know where she was coming to? Like, is this the day? Is this the day for this look? Anyway, so we get to the hall to speak. And she slayed. Do you know what of slayed? Like when she was done talking, nobody was sitting down. Everybody was standing. So what I took from that is this, right? Look the part, but when you open your mouth, please let what comes out trump how you look. Do you understand? What you look like and things like that might get you into the room, but what keeps you in that room, what gets people's attention is when you open your mouth and you speak sense. Because I find that so many times in today's world, we are so interested in the packaging, and it's very important to look the part and all of that. It's very important to be well groomed. However, that is not all about personal branding. When you open your mouth, please say things that look like, oh my God, this person has a lot to say. So I just wanted to add that there.
So to me, that analogy, Glory, is like, you know, those nice cars that you see on the outside. And then when you get inside, you know, there's no tech, you can't connect your phone to it. You know, there's electric windows only in the front, at the back it's manual. So what Glory is just saying is, we must look the part, but also have the content to back it up. What are you good at that you know you're good at, and it's so unique that you're differentiated with your peers? So why should people come to you, Glory, and not to Kanye? Because you're both coaches, you're both unique, but the way you've projected yourselves, I'll go to Kanye for something, it's not the same thing that I'll go to Glory for, but it's the way you've projected yourselves and branded yourself. Okay, so
I just need to clarify. I saw a question around sexiness here.
I saw that.
I ignored it.
Not the kind of brand you want. Okay, guys, I want to make this very clear, and I'm being deliberate about this point. You can check on any of our platforms or any of the platforms I'm on. I never project sexiness. But what I do project, and I'm very deliberate about, is I am well groomed. I show up, and then I make my mark. I know what success looks like for me in every conversation, and that's what I take into the conversation and I walk out with. But what I guess I'm carefully navigating is what people perceive as the packaging, right? Mm-hmm. And packaging doesn't necessarily mean slay queen. Packaging doesn't necessarily mean, what people perceive it to be. But I do know for a fact, for people to take you seriously, there are things you need to do, including how you dress, how you talk, where, the knowledge that you bring you must open the door to be able to be heard. And for some people, we do work in a world where for a lot of people, that's important. So make sure you have the right packaging to open that door to start the conversation. Now I can imagine, Glory, that lady who showed up and she was making a statement. For me, that is part of your artillery, right? She had to make a point, and that for her was her statement piece. I don't know if she shows up like that in every single conversation, right? So I'm just saying, I'm not saying sexy, I'm not saying provocative, I'm not saying any of those things. But we know a well-cut suit that fits you well makes you feel a particular way too. But it also gives an impression to the other person that they need to listen to what you have to say.
Take you seriously. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what I meant. No sexiness. There was no cleavage, if that's what you thought it was.
But I'm just saying, if you need to bring out the cleavage, make the skirt a bit shorter. It might work. I don't know.
Never out no one.
Never know.
Read your audience.
Understand your audience. Read the audience. And then show up.
Yeah.
I want to go to
work for Kim Kardashian.
Work for Kim Kardashian.
So I think there was something that when Glory was speaking, and it was to perception, and it was and that's something I've always struggled with. How people put out something and they're not, and just how to navigate that. So perception is important, but I think that everything that we've now spoken about has also then negated that or clarified that. So while you are able to lack of better word, deceive people or get people into a room because of your perceived, you've packaged yourself in that within a certain perception. On the back of that, everything else that has been spoken, with Glory saying, when you open your mouth, people need to be able to listen to you, or you need to captivate people, or you need to be able to hold the room when you speak. So that speaks for that. So great stuff.
I just want to ask.
Let's go on.
Shola, I want to go to you where you talked about how do you know if you are actually using your personal brand to grow in your career, or like how can I tell that I'm not being visible? Or like you mentioned something about not talking to the right stakeholders. How do I even know that people are talking about me when I'm not in the room?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Shola, maybe just unpack that for me on what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I'll rephrase the question. And so what does success look like in Kanye's words, or in Kanye's favorite phrase? What does success look like for you when you've been putting yourself out there, or you've built a personal brand, or you've been visible? I would say it's you've been called upon. So and also there are many things. There's a layer before we get there. It's what's your why? What are you trying to achieve? So there is that on the flips on the one side. And while in corporate, it's easy, you want to advance. So you want career advancement. So if we're speaking narrowly within the space of your workplace, when you're trying to be visible, it's for career advancement. What does success look like in career advancement? You are being called upon. Your new projects, you are being allowed to be innovative. You're promoted. It equates to more money in your pocket. So there's that, and then there's the other side of it, which is for your personal brand. And on the first question that we need to always define is, what are we trying to achieve? So what's the why in me building a personal brand? And there are many different reasons I find that people want to do it. It's because I want to become a thought leader. One, because I want to pivot. So I find that pivoting is a big reason for visibility. So while I'm stuck in a lateral or the parallel that I'm not interested in an industry, and I'm interested in another industry. So if I'm constantly talking about what's going on in another industry, or networking with the people in another industry, or making sure I'm intentional about meeting people in another industry, that's how I believe that that's the first part of understanding what you're trying to achieve. And success means you will get meeting the right people are reaching out to you, you're getting called upon for whatever. So sometimes you want to have that platform to speak on topics. You getting called on to be able to speak on a topic is great. I saw again, I know I mentioned it before, Glory's post on someone she posted who I believe is in real estate, but has a passion for financial industry. And probably I don't know what she did, but she got called upon by CNN to speak on the financial space, and which is great. So there might be things she had done around it, but that was her why, but that was what she was trying to get to. That was her endpoint. So what does success look like? It's getting the interest of the particular people that you've been intentional on getting them in the room, getting them to notice you, getting them to call upon you for whatever reason, and the career progression. That's how I'll define that.
Thanks for that. I just want to say, everybody, if you'd like to ask a question to any of our panelists, please, by all means, post your questions in the Q&A section. We'll be running a poll now shortly, very short poll around personal branding. If you could please take a few seconds to fill it out. But before I run the poll, I just want to go to Glory and ask you, Glory, to say, what has success looked like for the people that you've been coaching who have actually taken on that visibility? Like, what does it look like for them, so that our attendees here can say, oh, if I now start being deliberate about building my personal brand, this is what I can achieve. So maybe if you could share some testimonies of the people you've coached and some success stories from that.
Thanks. I think that's an excellent question again. So I think it really depends on the goal of the individual, right? So like Shola rightly pointed out, there are different ways to measure success. So the person Shola was referring to is actually one of my clients who, when she came to me, she was expanding her career portfolio from energy to also include infrastructure, right? So I was working with her to, just to navigate that shift and also to build visibility in that area. And like Shola rightly mentioned, she was then called upon by Zain Asha to feature in her show, the one show on CNN. So that's one of the examples from my clients. Other examples include, one of my clients was actually invited to apply for a Silicon Valley scholarship to join an accelerator program. And she was one of 4 Nigerians that were invited, and she was successful in getting that. Other clients have gotten commendations at work from, following some of my visibility tips to sort of enhance awareness of their personal brands. Been invited to join boards. It really depends on what their goal is. Some of them, it's even just, knowing that I am of value. So some people come to me and they're like, look, Gloria, I've worked for 15, 20 years, but I can't tell you what I'm good at. I don't know what I want to be known for. So even for some people, it's just navigating that clarity and becoming clear on what they want to be known for. And for them, that is a plus. Other people being featured in the news, PR, getting high profile speaking engagements and the like. So it's a wide gamut.
Kanye, I just want to ask you before we go to the Q&A section, what does success look like when it comes to personal branding, in your opinion?
So it really depends. So for example, I agree with everything. Oh, you're talking to Kanye. Sorry, I thought you said me. Sorry, I talk too much. I think everything's about
No.
Please share. I'll add what I can.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Finish.
Yes, I was going to say, just to add to what Shola said, really, really quickly, was that sometimes one of the success parameters is the benefits of mastery, right? So when you're a master in your craft, mastery is a currency. And what it can do for you is that it can help you leverage other opportunities. Or you can use it to negotiate. So I know some people who have built visibility, and what that means is that they're able to work less hours, and then they're able to build, because their brand is so strong that people are like, how much? Yeah, work 5 hours, do part-time, work from home, and then they are able to spend more time with their family. So some things about career progression, but some things, you're able to leverage it to have a life, That's me done.
Great. Kanye, something to add on to what Glory just said?
Yeah, I mean, she's shared so much. And for me, I think if I had to just add my little bits to that, I think it's around being intentional on the goal. What does it look like? Because that will determine everything else you need to do thereafter. So if your goal is to be a thought leader on a topic, right? What are the critical things you need to do to get there, including being technically strong on that topic? Now, I know a lot of us aren't necessarily where we need to be today. And we also not necessarily maybe performing at our peak today. And there's a broader conversation there around, are you in the right career, etc. But if you're clear about that, success for you then becomes quite specific. If I want to be a thought leader, I need to make sure at the end of the day, I am being invited to sit on panels. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm on these shows that I need to be sharing my voice. I am networking with the right individuals. I'm on these closed groups. There are these women groups or men's groups that are closed only for the really best. But you need to be clear about what that looks like for you, and therefore how you then travel that journey to get there. So for me, success means I know intentionally, personally, as Kanye, I am very clear about making a difference in people's lives, whether it's helping them build their dreams or becoming the best version of themselves. Now, what does that look like for me? I have touched people in a way that they are transformed. I get such joy and pleasure and actually goose flesh when people say to me, we did coaching a year ago. And at the time it was a lot, because psychologically I wasn't ready for some of the questions you were asking me. But let me tell you, today, I'm able to know when I see an opportunity that this is not for me. And that is more than enough, because sometimes we meander through life not knowing, because we're not clear. So for me, that's what success looks like. But we all need to define that for ourselves. And therefore, how do we know we've succeeded? I'm being, firstly, this panel is a part of my journey, right? And so I take great joy and pride in preparing for this panel and staying on this panel and adding value through this panel. And you know, I'm also deliberate about the brand, how I look, right? So very intentional about every single engagement and every single conversation. Also very intentional about the knowledge base. So that's how Duke CE makes sense, because now I'm with a global brand that is about corporate education, executive education, and coaching, right? So all those things need to be clear for you. And soon I'll be presenting on one of their global platforms on the future of learning. But I'm also very intentional, right? So it's just being clear about what that looks like for you and taking the steps towards it. And sometimes you may not be ready today, you know? So for me, it's important to have a coaching qualification. So guess what? I'm following that path because it's gonna validate my brand. So it's things like that. And I've made myself very vulnerable by sharing all of that. But I thought it was important for people to know when you go about it, what success looks like and how you deliberately do that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability. We really appreciate it. I just quickly want to touch on the poll. Okay. So first of all, everyone who took part, 100%, everyone took part in the poll, which is fantastic. But from the results, people seem to have a goal, like a career goal. People are differentiated from their peers, and they've got a skill that somebody else doesn't have, which is all great. But the interesting thing that came out was not everyone was comfortable with public speaking. And just going on to what the ladies have been saying, what Shola said, what Glory said, and now what Kanye is saying about being intentional, putting yourself out there in platforms where you can speak. So people have got these wonderful skills, but you're not showing them to the world. So I'll be speaking to our delegates now. Just really put yourself out there. And that's why we added in the question on public speaking. It's literally putting yourself out there so that you are seen, so that people can hear about the wonderful skills that differentiate you from your peers. Okay, everybody, we're going to the Q&A, and this one I'll direct it to Glory. Why is LinkedIn important when it comes to professional branding?
Okay, I'll answer that, but as usual, I want to touch on some of the things you just said. Sorry.
Okay.
So the first thing, so I noticed, because I could see some of the poll results, a lot of people said that they know that they stand out from their peers. And I think that's amazing. However, what peers are you measuring yourself against, right? So if right now you can stand around your peers, stand above your peers, maybe you need to redo that assessment with, more advanced people in your sector, right? And start to look at that. And what do your international peers look like? So maybe you're viewing yourself with your local peers, right? But what do international peers, what do they look like, right? And start to measure yourself against that. You should never be the most intelligent person in the room, or there's something wrong. So that's the first point I wanted to mention. Then why is LinkedIn important? So what other platform in the world has close to 800 million professional users, of which about 40% of them are C-level influencers? The answer is LinkedIn. So while there are other platforms, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, really important, and they are great for social media. However, LinkedIn is a professional platform, and research has shown that not only do 90% of recruiters say that they use LinkedIn for their recruitment decisions, but that thought leadership content on LinkedIn actually influences business decision makers, right? So if you're looking for a place where there are decision makers, there are executives, there are C-level influencers, country leaders, LinkedIn is the place. So that's why LinkedIn is very important when you're building your professional brand, because the people that need to know about you most likely are there. Yeah.
Great. Sorry, Shola and Kanye, I'm really sorry, but this next one I need to also direct to Glory. And it is, where does one begin when it comes to branding themselves on LinkedIn?
So the first question you have to ask yourself is, what do I want to be known for? I think this is a very important question. I think both Shola and Kanye had alluded to this earlier, is what do I want to be known for? What do I want people, what question do I want my name to be an answer for, right? So that's the first thing. Sit down and understand your brand, right? Get clarity on your brand. Then get clarity on your goals. What do I want to achieve, right? So step one, career clarity. Step two, what do I want to achieve? What are my career goals? Then step three is your network. Who needs to know about me? So I have something called the who list, right? Where you sit down and you think, who needs to know about me?
Can
Who
you?
will help me achieve my career goals? Who cares about the information I have? Who will pay me for what I know? Answering those questions helps you to come up with a list of categories of people that need to know about you, and then make sure you're connecting with them, not just only locally, but regionally, internationally, and the like, right? And then create content. So once you have the network, you're now creating content around the things that, one, relates to what you want to be known for, two, positions you as the right person to achieve those career goals, three, is relevant to that network that you are attracting. So those are some of the steps. Sorry, one more thing, just one more thing. So this idea of public speaking, personal branding, one aspect of personal branding is communication. So whether it is public speaking, whether it's content writing, whether it's PR management, whatever way, in order for your brand to be seen, you need to communicate your brand.
Yes.
Very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah. This one, I'm directing it to Shola. Is visibility similar to branding?
Yeah, I think one is the starting point and one is the end point.
Okay.
So visibility is what you do to then achieve a personal brand. So if you, like Glory said, you can something about being in your bedroom. You can think all you like in your bedroom if no one sees you. So what's the point of a brand if nobody sees it? So it's chicken before egg kind of concept. Both of them, you have to be visible to achieve the brand that you want, and you have to have a brand. When you're visible and there's no content or context behind it, there's also no point. So it's a concept where both of them, you need to be able to do both effectively to achieve that endpoint that we've gone on and on about. So yes, you have to be able to find ways to make sure that both are being done properly. I think my internet is hanging, but yes, that's the point.
Great.
Sorry, can I add one more thing to what Shola has said? I completely love what Shola's analogy. I also wanted to add that you already have a brand, whether you know it or not.
Right.
People
True.
already think something about you, whether you like it or not. They have discussed your names in meetings, and people have said things about you, right? Now, what we're trying to do here is get you to be intentional about what is being said about you, right?
Yeah.
And then visibility around that intentional process.
Kanye, you wanted to say something to add on to what Shola said?
No, I was saying Glory was asking to speak. So I was just taking
okay.
Glory, go ahead.
I wanted to point this one to you, Kanye. It comes from Cecilia Marombo. How do you find out what people are saying about you when you are not in the room? Is this key to personal branding?
So, you know what? There's very many ways, and I'm happy for you guys to jump in about how you can find out what is being said when you're not there. I think there are markers for me. There are flags that tell you not the right things are being said about you. So for argument's sake, if in a corporate you're talent, you'll know your talent because you will be afforded opportunities. You will be asked to go present at certain forums. You will most likely be putting your hand up already because you're being deliberate. You'll be doing great work and people will be asking you about it, people you don't even know. And you know, you can sense that it's being discussed at certain forums. And this whole notion of somebody banging on the table for you, right? You can feel it because you can see your career trajectory matching what you know, the platforms you're not, or the rooms you're not in, but your career is advancing. And because you're being deliberate about it, and you are being deliberate about sponsorship, and we spoke about that previously, and networking, you will see how the navigation happens, right? And you need to put your hand up as part of that journey. So if it's bad things being said about you, for me, it's most likely the exact opposite. Very little progression. Opportunities seem to be going elsewhere, not to you. You find yourself starting to feel some type of way. I know for some people it's resentful that other people are getting ahead before them or what have you, right? The question I would reflect on is, what is it that I'm not doing that other people are doing to advance their careers? And I'm sorry to say, but if you're being overlooked, there's something going on there. So for me, it's about markers and flags. Now, in the public domain, so if you're an entrepreneur, for argument's sake, ask, what do you think of the brand? What could we do better? What would make you, the whole net promoter score? What would make you come back? What would make you refer other people? And so forth. So you just need to be deliberate about getting the feedback. In your personal capacity, if you have the stomach for it, you should also ask for feedback, because that's the only way you're going to know what people really think. And ask for it in a safe space if you're not sure. Ask what's working, what isn't. You don't have to deliberately say, what are people saying about me behind my back? But you could find ways of, packaging it that it gives you insight as to, I actually want to be known for this. Is that what people think? So it's either your peers, it's either your line, it's either, other people in the network who may or may not be working with you, but ask the question and you never know. Some people, I think feedback is a gift. I also choose what feedback to take, but all of it is a gift. So if you want to, ask.
So we've come to the end of our show, and I must say, the time ran by so quickly. I could talk about this for another hour, but I need to respect your time. So just to wrap up everything that all of you have said, is it possible if I could just go around the screen and just get two tips from each of you on what you can give our delegates and everyone else who will be watching this later on how they can improve their personal brand? Like what, just two main tips that tomorrow go and try this out. So maybe I'll start with Shola.
Yeah, so again, two things that we should be doing to improve our personal brand, right?
Yes.
I think the first thing to start will be to have a why, to have a focus. So what are we trying? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want at the end of this? Second thing is be authentic and be intentional. So I'm sorry, the last question I think is so important that we take it, and I don't know how to, but that being authentic self versus being perception. So I think that they are linked, and how do you want people to see you? Because there are layers to that question. So if you think that you want to show up how people, how your audience wants to see you, can you stay consistently? Can you be consistent in that path that you've chosen? And consistency is key. So whatever way you've chosen to show up, you need to be consistent in it. So if that's not your audience, then you need to find the right audience, because you need to be authentic. You need to be able to put your best self forward, because if you're not authentic, then you can't be consistent. If you could try, but you'll be sussed out. Like I say, you'll be sussed out eventually. But yes, I think that's just that question. But two things: have a why. What you're trying to achieve. Be intentional about be self-aware. So that self-awareness helps you clarify what your why is. And once you've owned on what that why is, be intentional, stay consistent, be your authentic self always. It helps you stay consistent anyways. But yes, two things.
Shola, that was not 2 things. That was 3 or 4 things.
We have taken after our guest
But thank
today.
you very
We
much.
have a lot to say, so we have to match up.
Kanye, two tips.
Just to add then from Shola's point, if you are clear about the why, what is it going to take to succeed, to win? In business terms, we call it, what will it take to win? If you're choosing to play in a particular arena, what will it take to win? So you must be also just as clear on what success looks like for you. Now, success can look very different for all of us. Some of us are extroverted, and so we want to be on a public platform and we want to be heard and we want people, believing and trusting and engaging with our brands. But for some of us, it's about writing content pieces and articles and being a renowned author or being a renowned, a published article in the whatever science journal, right? So be clear on what success looks like for you. I think that's important. Otherwise, you're just meandering and trying to, fumbling around in the dark. That's the first thing. The second thing, guys, and I have to emphasize this. You need to be clear about what the brand stands for. And for me, the look is part of the brand. What you say is part of the brand. Understanding social media and how to leverage that is part of understanding how you become more visible. So know what it will take to win, and then being clear about what does the packaging and therefore the media and the platform that you need to use look like.
Dr. Glory. 2 tips, maybe even 3. 2 tips on the next, what we can do tomorrow to improve our personal branding using visibility.
Okay, so I agree with everything the ladies have said. Excellent tips. I'll just add to bits of it. So the first one is what Shola said around networking. So when everyone talks about networking, how do you network? The one tip I want to give here is go where the people who have achieved the things you want to achieve go. So think about it. What do I want to achieve? Right? So I want to become a CEO. I want to become whatever. Where do CEOs go? What forums do they belong to? Go there. In Nigeria, we say enter there. Go there, right? So make sure you go there. That's one. The second thing is get clear on, and this is kind of a hybrid. So with children, this is second tip with A, B's, and C's, right? The first part of that is understand what you do great. Understand what you do really, really well. And then learn how to communicate it in a way that is valuable to the people you are trying to attract, right? And I think this is the key thing about visibility. Visibility is the art of letting people know your impact as a professional, right? So if I came to you and said, oh, I'm a great public speaker, blah, 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 blah. Oh, good for you, Glory. But if I came to you and said, I help introverted women learn how to speak publicly, immediately, in fact, Tuel, I saw your eyes go up there, right? Immediately, the person who you're talking to knows she's introverted, knows she has a problem with speaking, and sees that as valuable. So you must understand how what you are good at is valuable to the people you're trying to attract, and find ways to communicate it in that line, right? So that's the second thing. Then the final thing I want to address is the question, because I think Shola is very right. That question about perception and your brand is important.
Yes.
Now, you need to ask yourself, why is it important for me to create a perception that is not authentic to me? That is a fundamental question. So you need to ask yourself, why do I want to perceive as something I'm not? And you need to untangle what that means to you. So I'll give you an example, and I'm going to be a bit vulnerable here. So one of the things that, I want somebody that, always looks good, sharp, slim, and all of that. But the truth about it is that that's not my authentic self. That's not really my authentic self, right? My authentic self is I want to look like the everyday girl, right? I'm not really interested in, contours and things like that. Not that it's bad. It's just not me, right? I just feel like it takes so much time. I went for this class where they taught me how to do my eyebrows, and I've never used this anyway because I just think, why would I spend 30 minutes just learning how to just putting on my eyebrows? So But then I had to sit down and say, why was it important to me? And I realized it was because I didn't feel beautiful, and I felt that this was the standard of beauty I had to measure up to. And then that untangling that process then made me realize that I needed to create what beauty meant to me and show up as that. So to first of all ask yourself, why am I trying to be perceived as something that I'm not? Untangle that process and then see what you want to be perceived as in a way that is authentic to you.
Awesome. So to try and sum up everything that the ladies have said, I'll be here the whole day, but I don't wanna I don't wanna reiterate what they've said. I'll just touch on a few things. Be intentional about your brand, package it really well, know your content, communicate it, communicate it very well. Choose a media that is comfortable with you, that you can communicate it to, and then be authentic to yourself. Look at your values and stick to that, and that branding will come out. I hope I've captured everything that you've said. I just want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. For those of you who would like to maybe share what was discussed today, please refer your friends, your colleagues at work to our YouTube page, where you can watch this recording. And if there's some nuggets that you'd like to get out of it, you can always go to our YouTube page. Please like us on our Facebook page, our Instagram page. We've got a LinkedIn group. Please join. They're all in our chat. To Dr. Gloria Edozien, please, thank you so very much. I've learned so much from you and from all the other ladies on the panel. We really enjoyed having you on the show, and thank you so much. With that being said, good night, everybody, and have a lovely evening.